Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. A very warm greetings to each and every one of you. Welcome to the YouTalk of CPO community. And I am Ririn, the moderator of this event. And on behalf of CPO community, I am really happy and excited and about this meeting today. So today we have a really special guest. Her name is Rebecca, and she actually a native speaker from Australia, and she is with us to talking about or explaining about culture shock. So time is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Ririn, for the wonderful and warm welcome. Lovely to be here once again. Lovely to have this opportunity. Okay, guys, so this evening I'm going to be talking about culture shock. Who knows about culture shock? Anyone?
Well, other than just going to a different region in my country and experiencing things online on groups.
Mhm.
Other than that, I haven't really experienced culture shock overseas or anything like that.
Yeah, so we can like experience culture shock just going to another region, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't have to go to another country actually, because like even if we look at Indonesia, Indonesia is like full of different cultures, hundreds of different cultures actually. So going from one to another, that can be pretty shocking actually. Okay, so I'll just get to it, won't I? Okay, so let me share my slides with you guys, okay, about culture shock. And please let me know whether you can see my screen, okay? Can you see my screen, guys?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. Okay, great. So this evening, again, culture shock. Why is there a picture of food? Because this is one of the things that shocked me the most. Food. It honestly it it drove me crazy. That is why I will let you in, okay, on a little bit of information about myself before I begin. Okay, so I moved to Indonesia when I was around 14, going on 15. Okay, so I've been in Australia for like 14 years, okay, which is a pretty long time. And of course, I'd come accustomed to the culture there. Yeah. But then I had to move to Indonesia, and my goodness, it was a shock. I had only ever been here for like a holiday, but to actually live is a totally different thing. It's just like I said, culture shock. It's mind blowing. It's stressful. It really made my anxiety go crazy. So it was a good experience, a stressful experience, but a good one. Okay. So let me continue. Okay. So maybe you guys are wondering, like, if you've never heard of culture shock. Okay. So what is it actually? Yeah. Culture shock. What is it? Okay. So culture shock itself, it refers to, a feeling of shock, uncertainty, anxiety, and a confusion about a place that you have moved to. Okay, so from one culture moving to another culture, and also when it's like so totally different, it can make you go crazy. Like I did, I kind of went crazy. Okay, okay, so moving to an unfamiliar environment. Okay, so here we have a few photos, like you can see. Here's maybe like Indonesian dance, which is part of Indonesian culture. Yeah, okay. And this photo is Aboriginal dances, okay, part of the Aboriginal culture in Australia. Okay, like I knew a lot about Aboriginal culture. I knew quite a lot when I was in Australia because I learned heaps. Okay. But then I came to Indonesia and I didn't really actually realize that there were so many cultures in just one country. It's like mind blown, completely mind blown. Okay. Okay, so when does it happen? When does culture shock happen? Well, it happens or it occurs when people move from another city to another city, or another country, from one country to another country. I mean, it doesn't even have to be between countries. It can be between cities. It can be between, like in your instance, David, like between states, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And here be between, even in the same province, like you can have different cultures in one province in Indonesia, which is pretty amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
So culture shock can also occur when people go on vacation, but it doesn't happen that much when they go on vacation. Not so much. Okay, I will explain this why later. Travel in retirement or business, like for long periods of time, or study abroad for school. Or for in my example was when I actually moved forever to Indonesia. Okay. Okay. So, and this is what happened to me. Culture shock. And a culture shock. Okay. Why am I showing a photo of a school in Indonesia? Because honestly, this is one of the things that shocked me the most in Indonesia, the education system. Okay. Imagine I came from Australia and I was chucked into the education system in Indonesia. It was hell. I can't put it in any nice words. Okay. It was hell. Hell on earth. I tell you, hell on earth. Okay. So here's another photo, okay? This is a photo of, I mean, like a Western culture, okay? Western education, okay? This could even be in America. I don't know, David, because I did not go to school there. This could be, I don't know, this could even be in Australia when they're not wearing uniforms, okay? Sometimes we have days in Australia where we don't wear uniforms. So as you can see, it's completely different, right? In Indonesia, it's just so focused on the teacher. So everything the teacher says, you write it down. Everything the teacher said is correct. Don't question the teacher. That's what it's like, okay? In the West, it's not so focused on the teacher. We talk with our friends, we make things, we discuss. That's what it was like for me in Australia. So you can see how shocked I was, in complete and utter shock. Okay. Okay, so next. Okay, although the timing of each person's adjustment process can be different, okay, this is what you have to remember. Each and every person's adjustment is different, okay? Very different, all right? Okay, very, very different. Like some people may be able to adjust in like 6 months or even 3 months or maybe even a year. And that wasn't the case for me. Okay, that didn't happen to me. It took me like, do you believe that it took me like 10 years to adjust? That's crazy, right? 10 years. It was very stressful, and it was a really pretty much a roller coaster ride for me. Okay, the adjustment process when I first moved here. Okay, so let's go through the stages of culture shock. Okay, so the first stage is, okay, you may have heard this. It's called the honeymoon stage. Okay, which is what I experienced when I first moved to India, or when I came here for holidays. It would be the honeymoon stage. What's the honeymoon stage? It's the stage where everything seems so lovely and nice and beautiful and interesting, and you love the culture, you love the people. That's what we call the honeymoon stage. You know, you're on cloud nine, really, feeling really, really happy about everything. Right? Okay. So this is what we call it. Okay. Say, for example, you might love the food. I did. I love the food. Love the sights. Yeah, I did too. And the sounds as you leave as the airport. Of course. I pretty much enjoyed everything, every single thing. Okay. You might find yourself adoring the climate. Yeah, I did. It was very nice to be in a tropical climate. Or the weather, walking around the city squares or the countryside. Yeah, I did. Okay, this is totally me. Okay, I went through this honeymoon stage. Okay, but the honeymoon stage did not last long for me. This honeymoon stage lasted maybe around, I don't know, 6 months or so. That's not long actually. Honeymoon stage. Okay, so that's or maybe less actually. Okay, and then I went through this stage, okay, the hostility stage. Okay, as some time passes, the differences that were once interesting have now become obstacles for you to get things done or communicate effectively. You may begin experience any of the following feelings or behaviors. Okay, so I went through this stage, guys. Okay, it was awful actually for me. It was really stressful. It was really hard for me to cope with. Okay, so for example, what things did I find amazing and then I got really sick of? One of them is the weather. Okay, the weather. I found it really humid and hot. I mean, now I'm used to it. Now it's like everyday life. I'm used to it. But before, I found it like I wanted to go home. I wanted to go home to Australia. I wanted winter. I wanted winter. I wanted cold and freezing climates. Okay, so I was sick of humidity. Okay, so let's go through these feelings and behaviors. Disorientation and confusion. Okay, disorientation. It means like a confusion of where you are kind of thing. Okay, so a little disorientated, hard, I don't know, confused how to get around the city, that kind of thing. It was a shock for me because in Australia, the transportation is amazing. And then coming here, I couldn't really go around using anything besides a car. So I had my independence stripped from me. Okay, I wasn't very independent because I had to depend on my mum and my dad to take me everywhere. In Australia, I could go by bus by myself. Okay, and then confusion. Yeah, things get confusing. Okay, like for me, for example, what was confusing to me is that what I was supposed to do in Indonesia. Okay, so in Indonesia, you're supposed to, for example, join all the occasions that are in the village, right? They have all these different occasions in a village. Okay, you're supposed to go to all of these. Okay, but I didn't understand that. I didn't get it. It was very confusing for me. So yeah, disorientation and confusion. Okay, and the next one, acute homesickness for family, friends, and places. This totally. I had really bad homesickness. I wanted to go home. I didn't really miss my family. Why? Because didn't have a very good relationship with my family in Australia. Actually, I will not go into that though. And friends and places, I missed my friends so much because the culture in Australia is more physical. Okay, way more physical. So in Australia, when I would cry, when I would be sad, my friends would come and hug me. Okay. Here they would just like tap me on the shoulder and I'm like, I need a hug. Somebody hug me. Okay. Yeah, David. Yeah, I know you know what I mean. Okay. But I got so stressed. That was so stressful for me. I just wanted to go home. I wanted my friends to hug me and tell me it was okay. Okay, and I missed places. I missed like going to the opera house. I missed going to Circular Quay in Sydney. I missed going to the beaches. I missed practically everything, going to parks even. Okay, so that's missing friends. Okay, and loneliness. This is really stressful. Okay, being somewhere that's so busy but feeling so alone. Has anybody ever felt that? Somewhere where I know you know, David, I know you know. Being somewhere where you are surrounded by people, but you feel so alone. You feel like there's nobody there. That's how I felt. Okay, I felt like nobody understood where I was coming from. Nobody understood why I was feeling so awful. Nobody understood why sometimes I would get so annoyed and frustrated. So that's how I felt, so lonely. And then helplessness. Like, you wanted to do something, I wanted to tell myself, I couldn't. You see, like, that's how helpless I felt. Okay, I had no control over my life. I had no control over anything. I was independent, and then I became really dependent on everybody else for everything. And then, irritability, being very, very irritable. Okay, do you guys know what that means? Irritable? It means that you get very annoyed with things. Like when somebody says something, it's like irritating. It's like, shut up. Sorry. So you get very frustrated with things, and everything is annoying. Okay. And then sadness and depression. Okay. You may not believe this, but I got really, really, really depressed. Okay. I lost 15 kilos in my weight. I lost 15 kilos moving from Australia to Indonesia because I was really, really depressed. I was stressed. I was homesick. I was lonely. I was very irritable as well. And frequent frustration. This one, guys. Frequent frustration. Okay. For example, like when I was at school, okay, I didn't understand the language at all, okay, and okay, honestly, like in Australia, I was like one of the smarter kids, okay, and then I came to Indonesia, and it was like I was one of the less smart, yeah, because here we have the ranking system, David. We used to have a ranking system, okay, so in Indonesia, for example, not so much now, but whoever got the highest score would be ranked 1, okay, and whoever got the lowest marks in their exams would be ranking right at the bottom, okay. So yeah, and that's not good for our mental state. It's not good at all. Okay, so I came from Australia to Indonesia, where they didn't have a ranking system, where I was quite smart. And then I came to Indonesia, and because I didn't understand the language, I ranked the lowest in my school, the lowest. Okay, out of hundreds of students, I was like, okay, for example, if there were 200 students in grade 9, I think it was, yeah, grade 9, I would be like ranking number 200. And can you imagine what that did for my mental state? It really did not help. I would come home crying. Okay, I would come home crying. Oh, questions will be after this. Okay, guys. Okay, so I'm gonna. Okay, no worries, David. That's perfectly fine. But after this, like, you can ask me anything you like. Okay, so I'll just get this finished. Okay. So that was really bad for my mental state. You can understand why I maybe went a little crazy. Okay, because I felt like I was really stupid. That's how I felt. And it's not good. It's not good for a child's mental state. But thankfully, we don't really have that anymore here, the ranking system. So I think that's really good. So the kids don't really compare themselves too much with one another. They just try to compete with themselves, get better. And then being easily angered. Yeah, like irritable, being easily angered. It's true, because you feel annoyed and you feel frustrated. You can't leave the situation. Okay, it's hard. And then fatigue. Because honestly, guys, learning a new language and a new culture is exhausting. It is exhausting. Okay, so every day after school, because I'm learning in English, okay, I could speak in English, but I couldn't speak in Indonesian. So when I tried to speak in Indonesian, I would listen to somebody, I would translate it in my mind to English, I would have the answer in English in my mind, translate the answer in my mind into Indonesian, and then I would speak. And that is exhausting. Okay, absolutely exhausting. So I was tired, and also I got sick a lot. I got really sick a lot. And then withdrawing from friends or other people. Yeah. Because you feel lonely, you don't want to socialize, you feel sometimes you feel like unworthy actually, sometimes. But it depends on the person, of course. Okay? And then self-doubt, sense of failure. Now, this is what I just explained. Okay? About school, I felt like a failure. I felt like I was really stupid. I doubted myself. I doubted that I was actually clever. I just thought, well, I must be stupid then. I must not be able to understand anything. That's how I felt. And then recurrent sickness. Yep, I got sick a lot. That's why I couldn't go to school a lot, because I would be sick most of the time from stress. Really. Stress. And desire to go home. This was the huge one. I used to get angry with my parents. I'd be like, Mom, Dad, take me home. I hate you guys because you brought me here. Take me home. I would be like that, seriously. So yeah. Oh, thank you, Ira. Love you too. I wish I had a friend like you I could hug as well at that time. Nobody would hug me. Okay. And okay, so I'm going to continue. Okay. And here, okay, what differences can cause culture shock? Okay, well, there are those that can move to a new country on the other side of the world with majorly different languages, food, hobbies, and air quality and still thrive. Okay, there are people who can cope with it really, really well. Okay, it depends on the person. I was young. I was a teenager. Moving from one culture to another culture was something I was not ready for. So yeah, I got stressed out of my brain. Okay, really, really, really stressed. Okay, see, there's also those that get stressed out of their brains. I was the latter. Okay, what does that mean? It means that I wasn't this one, that I still thrived. I was this one, the latter. Okay, I got really stressed, really, really stressed. Okay, although traveling to different countries to experience different cultures can help build character, culture shock has the possibility of becoming crippling to the point of needing to return home. Yep. I think, David, we spoke about this. You've experienced this. It's crippling. It's awful. It is absolutely awful. And honestly, I do not wish what I experienced on anyone. Okay, because it is really stressful. I would not wish that on anyone. Okay, so this is what shocked me the most in Indonesia. Maybe you would like to know. Okay, from moving to Australia to Indonesia. First one is education. Second one, the food. Third one, social things and also the language. And the fourth one, taboo. What you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do in Indonesia, or what you're supposed to say and what you're not allowed to say. So it was difficult. Okay, so let's look at education. Okay, let's look at this. Okay, why was education a shock to me? Because in Australia there are no tests, guys. There are no exams, which shocked David too.
Yeah.
There are no exams. We get our first exams in year 10. Year 10, guys. Our first exams are in year 10. Okay. So I was a happy little kid. I was at school, enjoying myself in Australia, having the best time of my life, not worrying about marks, not worrying about, whether I will pass my exams. Just having a fun time. And then I came to Indonesia, and you guys have tests for everything. You have exams for everything. Okay? You have daily exams. You have monthly exams. You have semester exams. You have mid-semester exams. You have end-of-year exams. It's like, whoa. Okay. And I didn't have that, and I didn't understand the culture. So one day when I was copying my friend on an exam, because I didn't know it was an exam, I didn't understand the language, my teacher scolded me in front of the class, got really angry with me, and I didn't understand a word what she was saying. I didn't understand a word. So I was like, yeah, ma'am, you can get as angry as you want. I don't understand you. So it was quite funny, actually. Like, yeah, you can ramble on, you can say whatever you like. You can get as angry as you want. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so I just sat there. I knew she was getting angry with me, like you can tell, but I didn't understand it. So that was pretty good for me. And another thing also that shocked me in the education system, like I love the education now. It's so much better, guys. Like I am so not, saying bad stuff about Indonesia. No way. I'm just telling you what I experienced. And Indonesia is such a lovely country. Okay, don't get me wrong. I love it here. That's why I'm still here, guys. I love the people. I love the country. Okay, it's just that there are some things that shocked me, like amazingly. And another one was also how teachers, they like to call their students stupid. Okay, this shocked me. Okay, because in Australia, if a teacher, okay, Malaysia also, okay, Asraf, interesting. Okay, so like I was sitting in class once and I was, making some kind of creation. I can't even remember what. And my teacher held it up to the class and said, look how ugly this is. Can you imagine that, guys? The teacher took my drawing and showed it to the class and said, look how ugly and crap this is. Okay. That, I went home crying. Because if that happened in Australia, that teacher would be fired on the spot. Okay, I am not kidding you. Yeah, David, exactly. I am not kidding you. Okay, you do not say those things to a kid. Okay, okay. So that is one of the biggest shocks for me here. Okay, next one. The food, guys. The food. Look, here we have two pictures. This used to be my kind of breakfast, cereal, fruit, sausages and eggs. Okay, that was my breakfast. And then all of a sudden, I was faced with this breakfast like this: rice, noodles, egg. I was like, no, I cannot. Okay, I just couldn't. I couldn't eat that in the morning. My stomach couldn't handle it. Okay, it couldn't handle it. Okay, so that was stressful for me because I would go to areas where they would give me that and they couldn't understand. Okay, they couldn't understand. So I would have to try and eat it, but it would be to the point where I would be like wanting to throw up. No, seriously, because I just couldn't. Okay, my stomach wasn't accustomed to eating that kind of thing early in the morning. Okay, but now and it's normal for me. Now I am around 20 years later, I can do it. And this took me time. It took me like around 10 years to be able to eat this kind of thing in the morning. It took me a long time. Okay, it was not easy. It was not easy at all. And I missed my meat pies from Australia. I missed my sausage dogs. I missed my Vegemite. I missed my wheat bix. I missed heaps of stuff, so it was very hard. Okay, and next, social things and the language. Okay, what shocked me when I moved to Indonesia was that people here want to know so much about your personal life. Okay, so they're always asking like, how old are you? I mean, even now it shocks me still. Are you married? Have you got any children? What are you doing? What are you cooking? What are you having for dinner? What are you having for breakfast? What are you having for lunch? I was overwhelmed, absolutely overwhelmed. And also, I'm not saying in the West they don't gossip. They do. Believe me, they do. It's just that it's more like they don't really try to intrude on your personal life. Really, like they don't like ask questions like, oh, what are you going to be cooking? What did you have for breakfast? Have you bought any food? Have you been cooking? Or why haven't you been cooking? Do you not cook? Okay. They just don't ask those questions in the West. So it was a total shock. It was a shock. I'm used to it now, guys. I am used to it. So it's not a shock to me anymore. That's what happened to me. And another thing that was a shock for me, because in Indonesia, it's not multicultural like Australia. Okay. Australia is very multicultural. Like in one class, I could have from Japan, China, India, Indonesia, Australia, of course. Where else? Europe, all in one class. And it was so multicultural. But this is also because I lived in Sydney. Okay. Don't think that all cities in Australia are multicultural. They're not. Okay. But Sydney is a huge city. It's like the biggest city, and it is very multicultural. Okay. And also the language. This was so difficult for me because I couldn't do my work at school. I couldn't understand anything. But thankfully, I got the hang of the language pretty quickly. So it took me around a year to get quite fluent. Okay? But again, people made fun of me. Okay? People made fun of my accent. People made fun of me how I spoke Indonesian, which people didn't do in Australia. In Australia, at my school anyway, and people I knew, they never made fun of people who couldn't speak English well. You weren't allowed to. If you made fun of them, you would be punished. Okay, just no making fun. But people made fun of me here a lot, so that was a shock. Okay. And then, okay, taboo. Okay. Things that shock me are the things that you can talk about here and you can't talk about in the West, or vice versa. Okay. Like here, people will continuously ask your age. In Australia, no, don't do it. Okay? Especially to women. And then here, often people ask about your salary. In the West, no, don't do that either. And also here, I found that people, it's much better now. I found that people did a lot of body shaming. In Australia, no, you would get hit. You would get punched in the face, literally, if you started body shaming someone. Like you said, oh, you're so fat now. You would get a huge punch in the face or a kick in the guts, I tell you. Okay. Yeah, exactly. So it was, that was a shock, and it was stressful because people would continuously, comment on your physical appearance. Like people would also like always call me, oh, you're so white, bule, hey, white person. No, I didn't like it at all. It was not fun. I just felt like that everybody was picking on me and really saying that you're different, you're not like us. It's not nice. It's not a nice feeling. Okay. And okay, stage 3 is the recovery and adjustment stage. This stage took me 6 to 10 years. Okay. Gradually, you begin to feel more comfortable in the new culture. Okay. Because I went through a period where I didn't want to accept the culture here, where I went through the period where I felt that everything was better in Australia when it's not. There are many things in Indonesia that are so much better than Australia. I can tell you that. Okay. But I went through a period where I felt everything sucks here. Sorry. Everything, I don't like it here. Everything's so much better in Australia. That's how I felt. Like I didn't want to accept anything. I went through that stage. Like, no, I'm not having any of this. No, I don't want it. Okay. But then you go through a recovery and adjustment stage. You start to adjust, you start to recover, you start to understand, and you start to realize that this new culture you're in is actually very beautiful, and you start to embrace it. Okay. You start to embrace it. Not everybody can do that. Okay. Not everybody can do that. Okay. But for those who can, it's a huge step. That's why I feel like I made a huge step, being able to embrace everything here, and to the point where I don't want to go back to Australia. That's my that's how I feel now sometimes, because I have my family, I have my friends. I love how people help one another here so much. Like I've told you, David, here people help one another so much in times of need. So you never feel alone. I like that. Yeah, I really like it. And okay, yeah, I started to adjust after about 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years was the starting of adjustment. Okay, I did not adjust, but I started to, for example, be able to speak well in Indonesian, started to understand the culture more, but I still hated it, but I started to adjust a little. Okay, and then how to overcome culture shock. Okay, well, it's different. Some people do not ever overcome culture shock. Okay, sometimes they never overcome it. Okay, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, and you can't really judge someone on that. Okay, it's a personal thing. Not everybody can adapt, especially when you've got no support. When you don't have a support system where you are, it's very hard to adjust. Okay, so how do you overcome it? Well, you can do your research before you go to somewhere that has a different culture. You can do your research, find out about the culture in the place where you're going to move. I mean, it's easy now. We have the internet on our phones. It's easy peasy. Okay, and then open-minded. This is what I was not. I was not open-minded. I was very closed-minded. Okay, I was not open to a lot of things. And learn about the new country or culture to understand the reasons for cultural differences. This one is difficult, guys. It's difficult. It is so hard to actually be able to understand why things are like that. Even now, I find it still difficult. Okay, there are things that I just don't understand. I'm trying. I'm still trying though. And then don't indulge in thoughts of home. Yeah, this one. Don't keep thinking, I want to go home. I want to go home. Home is so much nicer. But this one is difficult too. Okay, it's difficult. When you've grown up somewhere completely different, to kind of have a positive outlook is very difficult. And write a journal of your experience. I actually did this. I actually wrote stuff about my experience in Indonesia. So I had a diary. So like kind of my friend, I guess, somebody I could talk to, my diary. And then don't seal yourself off. This one, I went through the stage where I hated everybody. I have to be honest. But then after that, I grew to accept things, and then I still socialize, but I can't be as social as a lot of Indonesians here. It is difficult. I love doing things by myself, which people still find amazing here. Okay, I love going places by myself. I love hanging out by myself, but people here find that strange. Aren't you lonely? This kind of thing? No, actually, I enjoy it. Okay, so sometimes I'm kind of an introvert. Like I don't like to talk to other people sometimes. So yeah, don't seal yourself off, and then be honest in a judicious way. Okay, so use your common sense. Don't use anger and things to judge things and that kind of thing. And talk about and share your cultural background. Okay, this is one thing that I enjoy actually. I like talking to other people, for example, about Australia. It helps me to not miss Australia so much. So I like talking about it. I like people who actually listen and who are actually interested. It helps me to cope, because don't think I'm not homesick. Even though I've been here a long time, I still get homesick. I still sometimes want to go home to Australia. Okay. Okay. That was a lot. Okay, now I've kind of run out of breath. so so now it's the questions time. Should I hand it over to you first, Ririn, to open the question session, or should I just go ahead and let everybody ask? Okay, Ririn, I think you've got a little bit of a connection problem again. So I will go ahead. I'll go straight to the questions session. So who would like to ask a question?
Hey, Becky.
Hi, Linda. Yeah. Hey, how are you?
Okay, yeah. So thank you for your speech tonight. So I really
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed that. And actually I got some questions during your your speech, but it just kind of in finally all of my questions just already answered by you.
Oh.
So I don't have any questions anymore.
Oh, I'm
But that was
sorry, Linda.
interesting to listen to all of your um maybe I can say like statement or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So most of what you mentioned earlier are things that stress you out, that drove you crazy.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So maybe my question is gonna be,
Mm-hmm.
what was your first impressions of Indonesians in general when you first arrived? Yeah,
Ah.
maybe this question is already answered by you, but I think just go over it maybe.
Okay.
So
No, no, no.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
So another question is, you just already shared your experiences living in Indonesia. So what if we talk about the flip side? If you were to move there in your country, Australia, so what are some advice you would give us? All right,
Oh, okay. So if you guys
that's it
wanted
from
to
now.
go to Australia,
All right,
yeah, is that correct, Linda?
yeah. Um,
Okay.
what are advice you
Okay.
would give us? Something like that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Linda. Some wonderful questions there. Okay, I will try to answer the first question. What was my first impression towards the Indonesian people? Super friendly. Honestly, my first impression was super, super friendly. And I loved it here. Okay. Um, I just thought it was just, that people were so friendly, a lovely country. But then when I started school, I started to see that um, this country is sometimes not used to difference. Okay. So I began school and I felt like my teachers would also make fun of me because I couldn't speak Indonesian. They would say like, "Oh, you're bule. Oh, so you can wash the plates. So do you wash plates in Australia?" And I'm like, what kind of a joke is that from a teacher? you know and I just thought that it was like, I don't think that was very good of teachers to actually ask that kind of thing. But honestly, my first impression, and also because I had been here many times for holidays, I love Indonesian people. I think you guys are just like super friendly and super welcoming, actually. Like, even going from Indonesia to Australia, you might find people who are not so welcoming. So I think you guys are like, you're awesome, really. So that's my answer to the first question, Linda. And the second question, my advice for you guys, like if you ever wanted to, I guess, study in Australia, like if you study, you would have to be there for a few years, or if you wanted to actually move there. First, I would advise you to read about the culture, okay, because it's really different. Okay, it's very different. And the culture is more physical there. What I mean is that if you meet somebody of the opposite sex, okay, for example, if I met somebody who's a guy, it's normal for guys and girls to like hug one another. This is not in a romantic way, it's just in a way, hi, being friendly, okay? But guys and guys would not do that. Okay, do not, like, if you're a guy, do not go and hug another guy. He'll be like, what? Wait, hey, hang on. No, 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 no. Okay. Okay, don't do that. Um, for like women to hug one another, yeah, I mean that's perfectly normal. In Australia, but for guys and guys to do it, don't do it. Okay, and then also don't get shocked at the sarcasm. Okay, sarcasm is a big thing in Australia, maybe in other countries too, even in
Here too.
America, I think.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, it is a huge thing. So don't get easily offended. Okay, because that is one thing I realized going from Australia to Indonesia is that, wow, when I worked with a conservation company, okay, with a conservation NGO, okay, these guys from CNN, they came to visit us, and I actually had forgotten about the sarcasm in the West, okay? So I was talking to this guy. His name was Philippe. Philippe. Yeah, he was the grandson of Jean Cousteau, if you know
Oh,
him. Yeah. Yeah.
that's pretty
The son
cool.
of. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Okay, so I was talking with him, Philippe Cousteau. Okay, so the grandson of Jean Cousteau. If you know him, he's like the expert in like marine and etc. Okay, so I was talking to him, and he a lot of sarcasm. Okay, like I said, oh, can I have one? He's like, no, totally not, and it was sarcasm. You know, a lot of sarcasm, which would probably offend Indonesians. So don't get offended. Okay, that's one thing. And also, what else? Mm, I don't know. I think it actually, if I went from Indonesia to Australia, I'd probably get reverse culture shock. Actually, I think, because things are so different. Another thing is, oh, we were talking about this, David. Handshakes in Australia. Okay, do not get shocked when they give a very firm handshake like this. Okay, here we often go just like this, right? This kind of thing, you know, this salam, this kind of thing. In Australia, no. This is the handshake. The firmer your handshake means you are more confident. Okay, it shows in a handshake. Okay, that's the interesting thing. For example, if you're gonna go for a job, maybe it shows in your handshake. Okay, it shows. So that's what I would advise. I would advise you to realize, just not get too offended, okay? Because it's a different culture. What else? The food, well, you can find rice and Asian food easily in Australia. It's very easy. The language, don't get shocked because Australians use a lot of slang. Okay? This is one of the hardest things for Indonesians to understand. Like, I can't think of one now. And they use a lot of shortening of words. For example, like avo. Okay? Like, for example, if somebody says, yeah, I'll meet you this avo. Okay, and then people might be, what? Avo is afternoon. Okay, avo is afternoon. Avo, avocado. Servo, service station or petrol station. Bicky, biscuit. Brekkie, breakfast. Danny, toilet. Danny, toilet. Did you not know that, David?
No.
Okay, that's what often Australians use. Dunny. I want to go to the Dunny. And let me see what else. Crikey. Crikey means whoa, wow. Okay, crikey. What else? Oh, there are so many. There are so many. I can't even think of them at the moment. But that is one thing you will have to get used to. Okay, because my friend who has moved to Australia, she has complaining to me nonstop. What the hell are Australians talking about? Okay, so you will have to get used to the slang. Okay, that's my answer to Linda. Does anyone else have a question maybe?
Hello,
Hi, Brian.
Brian.
Okay,
So my
Brian,
name.
I'm sorry.
Okay, actually, I a little bit missed this missing, but I tried to listening very carefully. And your accent's really clear. Oh my goodness!
Thank you.
Oh, American
Hello.
and British.
No,
Wow.
Australian actually.
Yeah, sometimes Australian. I feel like sometimes like a British, sometimes like American too.
Oh, okay, like a mix. We have our
Yeah,
own accent
combined.
actually.
One of them. Yeah.
Okay.
How do I call you, Miss Rebecca or Ma'am Rebecca?
No, just call me Rebecca or Becky.
Okay, Becky. Okay, Becky.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
Uh, okay. Okay. What should I say? I lost my words.
Oh, don't get gobsmacked. Oh, do you know that meaning, guys? Gobsmacked.
Snack. What does that mean?
Gobsmacked. It means like you can't say anything, like in shock.
Okay, I shocked. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy to be good listener here
Hmm.
because yeah, you also say about your information, culture, and etc.
Hmm.
among other things. And yeah, that's all. I'm really appreciate that. And yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Brian. Well, I'm happy that you enjoyed it. And I'm also happy if you learned some stuff too. And you okay, guys, like maybe you might be wondering, I know that a lot of people think that in Australia people speak like Crocodile Dundee, or they speak like Steve Irwin, like good day mate, how you doing? Nah, I do not speak like that, okay? Okay, I do not speak like that. That is the really broad Australian accent. Okay, so there are three different accents in Australia, basically. Yeah, so we have the broad one, like Steve Irwin and Crocodile Dundee, and then we have the more general, and then we have the more cultivated, which is usually for very educated people or people, for example, like actors and actresses. They often have a more cultivated accent. Maybe you've heard of the person called an actress called Kate Blanchett. Okay, have you ever heard of her? Kate Blanchett? Yeah, she has a very posh, more posh Australian accent, I guess you could say. Yeah. So we have three different accents in Australia. So don't be surprised. And also, Brian, I speak a lot clearly because I'm an English teacher. So I have learned to speak a lot more clearly than I usually would do. For example, with other native speakers, I may not speak as slowly or as clearly, maybe. Hey, Puss.
Okay, Becky. I need to learning more from you because you have a lot of experience about this one.
Okay, yeah. Sure, anytime, Brian, anytime. I'm an open book, really. Okay. Does anyone else have maybe a question?
Hello, Kabeki.
Yeah,
Am I
hello. Yeah,
audible?
please go ahead.
Okay. Well, good evening. And I want to say thank you so much because, I'm so
You're
glad for
welcome.
joining this great meeting. It's really amazing. I love your explanation, your story.
Thank
It's
you.
really
Thank
appreciable and
you. Thank
understandable.
you. Hmm.
Yeah. Well, and I have a question for you.
Hmm.
But before, I want to say I'm so sorry I couldn't open my camera because I'm not wearing my hijab.
That's okay. I understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my question is, just like you said before, that you faced some bad experiences, like
Hmm.
some people called you bule, even your
Hmm.
teacher as well. So,
Yep.
how did you face the problem? Because sometimes, when we face a
Hmm.
bad experiences, it makes us depressed, down,
Yeah.
and lack
Yep.
of confidence. What
Yep.
did you do to fix it?
Kunaon, kunaon.
Well, honestly, Anissa, firstly, very nice to meet you, Anissa.
Kunaon.
Honestly, the way I dealt with it, I didn't deal with it really. I didn't deal with it very well because I was a teenager. You have to remember that I was at school. I started school here when I was a teenager, and it's very hard for me. How did I deal with it? Probably because a lot of support from my parents, from my mum and dad. They really supported me. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much how I dealt with it. And also, I learned to ignore it. Okay. That's all I could do, really, because I know that the culture here is that teachers cannot be criticized. Okay. And it's still like that. Honestly, it is. So yeah, I don't like it. That's why I am a teacher who is so open to criticism. Okay, I want to teach you guys that it's okay to criticize a teacher. Teachers are not God. They do not. But here, I remember, like in my English class in at school, okay, in Indonesia, I corrected the teacher, and my teacher got angry with me and said, "No, you're incorrect. This is the correct way to say it." And I'm just like, okay then, right, okay, so I will say no more. So that's how I dealt with it. I ignored it. I told my parents. They gave me a lot of support. Without their support, I don't know, I think I would have gone into really deep depression. Also, I sometimes I actually used to ring my friends back in Australia because I missed them a lot. So I dealt with it that way. I would read books a lot. That also helped me to kind of run away, from the situation. I watched movies that I liked also, so I wouldn't have to think about it. But Anissa, honestly, it wasn't easy, and I did get depressed. I lost my self-confidence, okay, because I used to be a child that was so confident, like overly confident. I would have no problem making a speech in front of 1,000 people. That would just no problem for me at all, okay. But here in Indonesia, I lost it because teachers used to call me stupid. So I lost my self-confidence, and I had to learn how to get it back. I started learning how to get it back when I started uni, okay, because I had to meet a lot of different people. I had to go to different parts of Indonesia by myself. So that helped me to recover, and that's like 10 years later. So it was not easy, Anissa. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, Kak Becky, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm so sorry. Can I ask you one question?
Of course you can.
Okay, it's about a teacher and educational system in Indonesia. Just like you said before. So, what have you done to change, or maybe make a transformation, new transformation to change a bad educational system in Indonesia? Because I know that you are a teacher. Maybe
Okay.
you have created some great method to create a good atmosphere for your students.
Okay, wonderful question. Absolutely wonderful. So, okay, so like I don't teach in schools. Okay, so I have my own course, but but my daughter has started school. Okay, and how I am trying to fix this is I am trying to communicate with her teacher a lot. Okay, how I think she should teach. I know you may be thinking that, oh, what is my right to do that? Well, I feel I have a right because I want my daughter to have the best. So I often communicate with her teacher. I explain to the teacher what she should be doing to help the kids enjoy school more. And she sometimes asks me, she doesn't know because they get bored. Well, do something more interesting, and I give her examples. And if you ask me how my the methods that I use, okay, well, I always, firstly, in my classes, I always tell my students that if I say anything that is incorrect or that you think that is not suitable or anything, please, I am open to criticism. Remember, I am a teacher. I am continuously learning too. I am not God, once again, and I am only human. So I want my students to understand that. Okay, and I try to help my students to be confident, to realize that they have the right to say what they feel, and they have the right to correct a teacher when the teacher is wrong. They have that right. Okay, I do not understand the mentality that the teacher is always correct. I will never understand that, because a teacher is a teacher. Where did they learn? A teacher learned from another teacher, right? And teachers are only human, they continue to learn. And also my methods, well, I know that English in Indonesia focuses too much on tenses and grammar. Am I right, guys?
Yes, that's totally right. Yes.
Exactly. So when people learn with me, that's not what we focus on. Unless you are going to take something like the TOEFL test or the IELTS test, like an English test, okay? But other than that, I do not focus on grammar and tenses. I focus on the capability of being able to communicate, okay? To be able to get across, articulate what you mean to someone else well. And even if you don't use the correct grammar, it doesn't matter, because nobody's going to stop you in your tracks and say, hey, you shouldn't have used has, you should use have. Anyone who does that is an idiot. I'm sorry. Anyone who does that is an idiot. They should not be teaching English if they teach like that. Okay, they should not be teaching English. And I watched a video actually the other day where they said that this guy, he could speak English quite well. Okay, so he went to Europe. Nobody commented on his English or corrected his English. He went to England, America. Nobody commented or corrected. He came back to Indonesia. They started being the grammar police. Okay, that is why I keep saying we focus too much on grammar. It's not as important as you think. Focus on speaking, focus on being able to get across what you mean. Communication, okay? Like even expression. When I teach my students English, I teach them expression. I'm like a drama teacher. Okay? Because in English, if you say something with no expression, it means something totally different. Okay? So for example, if I said to you, for example, like this, okay? Excuse me, I could be asking, excuse me, can you repeat that? If I said, for example, excuse me, that would show I'm insulted. Okay? Okay? So different expressions, different intonations, it means that you're meaning something completely different. Even the word please. Okay, can you please give this to me, please? It means I'm asking for something. If I say please, it means like, yeah, whatever, you know, please. Okay, people did that in Australia like all the time. Okay. It's funny. Okay. So that is what I teach my students. So if you want to learn with me, that is not what I'm going to focus on. I will not focus on grammar. So if that's what you're looking for, okay, how to make people understand that grammar is not number one. That is a good question, Matt. Is it Matt? Yeah, okay, Matt. Very good question. How do we make, or how do we lose the mindset in Indonesia that grammar is not that important? Yeah, it's important, of course. Like if you're going to write, I don't know, a very academic law report, sure, it's important. But I have to emphasize once again that you have to get it out of your mind that grammar is number one. It's not. It's not. Okay? Like I have had people talk to me and their grammar is just all over the place. But I understand them. And I am not going to say, hang on. Repeat that sentence again with the correct grammar. If I did that, I would be a total, yeah, you know. Okay, so I would not do that. Okay, grammar is not number one. It's not what's important, guys. It's not what's important. What's important is to just understand. Once again, understand. Be able to get across what you mean, what you want to explain to somebody about something. If the other person understands, well, good. It means that your English isn't that bad then. Okay. So to do that, okay, you have to be able to understand that grammar is not number one. Okay, so after this class, I really hope that everyone can understand that grammar is not the number one thing that we have to concentrate on when using English. It's not, okay? The way they teach it in schools, I'm sorry, but I don't like it, okay? It's just a fact. I don't like it. And I find it that it's very, no wonder, I mean, when I understand, oh, okay, so you guys are taught English that way in schools, and then I'm like, no wonder you can't speak English after you finish school, okay, after you finish high school, senior high school. I'm sorry, but most Indonesians are very confused in using English. They don't know how to use English. They focus too much on grammar. Okay, so that's my answer, Matt.
Okay, thank you very much for the answer. By the way, I actually a little bit shy to show my face and to speak in front of you because I see that you speaking your English very good, and my voice is also so noisy here right
Oh,
now.
no worries.
Yeah, I have
No
to go
worries,
here.
Matt.
Hey, wait, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm talking.
oh, that's so
Uh,
sweet.
yeah, actually, I'm also teaching English. I'm also
Ah,
really learn about English, and
mm-hmm,
that's also one of the reason why I joined with you guys here,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
discussing about cultural shock. And
mm-hmm.
yeah, to be honest, that I'm visiting this place also. I got a culture shock. I'm in Sumatra right now. I live in Medan,
Oh,
but now I moved to Padang Sidempuan, where everybody speak in Batak language, and I didn't understand
ah,
Batak. And I got culture shock. I had no friend here. It's really hard for me to understand what they say, even though I hang out somewhere and then I
mm,
wanted to speak to them. But yeah,
mm,
I got the culture shock here. And maybe you can also kind of share about what must I do. As I understand, is the first thing
mhm,
that my students should get. The first is the vocabulary and the pronunciation. That's what I will teach
mhm,
the first to my student, not the grammar. After that, I will teach them about how to speak the grammar,
mhm,
not to just understand the pattern of the grammar, but
mhm,
to speak
mhm,
the grammar. But
mhm, mhm,
maybe you have kind of suggestion to me to improve maybe
mhm,
my kind of my knowledge about what must I do with
mhm.
my students when my students get a little bit difficulty about stuff.
Yep,
Just
yep.
kind of suggestion, please. Thank you. By the
Mhm.
way, Becca,
Okay.
nice to
You're
meet you today.
welcome.
Yeah.
Very nice to meet you too, Matt. And firstly, I'm so sorry that you had to experience culture shock and hard for you to adjust and no friends. I'm so sorry because it's not fun. I know it's not fun. So I hope you can adjust quickly. And um what I usually do, okay, Matt, when I teach my students, okay, like I have a lot of kids who are students, okay, who are learn with me, a lot of kids in primary school, okay, so that's elementary school, okay, primary school, and I see that a lot of teachers, they teach, for example, number 1 to 10 maybe, and then after that colors, and then maybe shapes, that kind of thing, right, Matt?
Yeah, that's what I see the teachers does in their class.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yep. Okay. I don't do it like that. Okay. So, for example, if I'm talking about numbers, then I put the numbers into sentences. Okay. So, my students, for example, I would say, how many apples are there? So they count them and they say 3. Okay, there are 3 apples. I teach them how to make sentences at the same time. Why? Because just teaching vocabulary is pointless. Okay, you cannot speak in English with just learning vocabulary. Okay, for example, like the shape. My students, I would say, okay, now look around and find something shaped with a shape rectangle that is shaped rectangular. Okay, find something here that is shaped rectangular, or in your house. Find something with the circle. Okay, that is a circle shape. Find something that is triangular. Okay, triangular shape. Okay, and also, Matt, I communicate in English. Okay, so when I explain things to my students, I communicate in English. Okay. When they really don't understand, then I will use Indonesians. Like for little kids, like sometimes I use Indonesian because it's difficult for them, right? So I will mix between Indonesian and English, but I try as much as possible to use English, and it works wonders. Okay, it works wonders. It really helps them. And why I say this, because a lot of my students have said that their marks have increased significantly, okay, after learning with me. Okay, so I'm just saying hopefully what I'm doing or how I'm teaching is correct, and it's easier to understand, because once again, if you just teach vocabulary, it's pointless, Matt. You need to put the words into sentences. You need to teach them how to use those words. Like, for example, if I teach about color, I would say, what color is this? It's black. What color is this? It's purple. Okay, so now find something that is purple. Find something that is blue. Okay, do you like the color blue? Okay, what's your favorite color? What color do you hate? Okay, so I try to give a lot of examples on how to use that vocabulary in everyday sentences, Matt.
All right, I get it. I get it. Really, really, thank you very much. By the way,
You're welcome. You're
uh,
welcome, Matt.
you really answered my question. Thanks so much for that.
Okay, good. You're welcome. You're really welcome. And I hope it can help you too, Matt. Okay, so let me see. Okay, just reading the messages. Okay. Sometimes I feel insecure when listening to a person who can speak English by using American or British accent. Should we be concerned about that, about our accent? Okay. If you're talking about not understanding an accent, well, it takes time. Okay. You can listen, for example, to movies and other things, but should you be concerned about your accent? Like David said, no. No. Okay. Do not focus on your accent. I mean, if you have a wonderful Indonesian accent, but you can pronounce things correctly, you can get across what you mean, you can speak well, why not? You know, embrace your accent. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, or you're not allowed to learn a particular accent, like a British accent or an Australian accent or American accent. No, please go ahead. But do not focus too much on that, okay? Because actually focusing too much on accent, it kind of it disorientates us in using the language. Okay, it kind of makes us confused. So once again, I would just say embrace it. Embrace your accent. Okay, wherever you're from, just embrace it. All accents are beautiful. Okay, all accents are beautiful. Never feel that your accent sounds strange or it sounds stupid. Never. Okay, embrace it. That's what I say. And then how to fight the fear of being wrong when speaking. Okay, this one. How to fight this fear? Gosh, I'm not afraid to speak because I learned in Australia from grade 1 to do public speaking. Okay, that's what we learned at school. But that's why I'm very confident. Okay, but when using another language, it can be very nerve-wracking. I know. Okay, so how to be more confident? Okay, firstly, if you're talking to a native speaker, realize that they won't make fun of you. Well, they shouldn't do. If they do, they're not worth talking to you. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. So like even David, like you can talk to David, can't they, David?
Yeah. And just be yourself. Like, I mean, honestly, another perception too. I'm not sure if it's in all Western countries, but like, especially in America, when people purposely try and change their accent to try and match the people that they're talking to, it comes across as being ingenuine and fake. And a lot of people just don't like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So just be
I've
yourself.
I completely agree with you, David. Yeah, just be yourself. And it is true. It is true. Like, I'm sorry to say, but sometimes when you try too hard to use a certain accent to native speakers, it might come across as, okay, it's like, yeah, like David said, a bit too fake. But I'm not saying it's not okay to try and learn a
Yeah.
certain accent. Please go ahead. I'm just saying that don't focus too much on it. Okay, like I see that a lot of people, oh, I really want to be able to speak with a British accent. Sure, I love the British accent. I understand why too. And sure, you can learn it, but don't feel that you're a failure if you can't use a particular accent. Okay, because no one is a failure, no matter what accent you use. Okay, look at the French. They use a very French accent when they speak in English, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah. And other people too. So I just say embrace it, guys. Okay, embrace it, and just know that we won't make fun of you. Native speakers won't make fun of you. Okay. And once again, if they do, they're not worth talking to. Okay.
Yeah.
I hope that answers the question. Any other questions, maybe? David, you had a question, right?
Well, I did have one. It was more of a comment really than a question. But when
Oh,
you
please.
mentioned like how when you first started school in Indonesia and they ranked you at the bottom, like basically calling you stupid. I'm just confused on how they didn't accommodate you at all. Like for an example, when I was in high school, we had an exchange student and she was from London. And I remember in our literature and English class, you know, they would grade you on your spelling and grammar. And of course, you know that British English and American English spells a lot of the words differently.
Yeah.
So, you know, our teacher and, you know, just the school board itself excused whenever she would actually use words with the British spelling, because obviously she's not American. She's not from here, and her education wasn't originally from here. So there's no need to grade her wrong for spelling things the British way. So they would excuse that. Now, if any of us, you know, just other Americans in class spelled the British way, it would be marked wrong. Because they want you to use, you know, for here in America, the proper spelling, you know, the American English. But they would still accommodate for her. And also, like you said, like teachers here, none of them are going to straight up to your face call you stupid. For one, like you even said, they lose their job. And two, I know we talked about this before because I guess a lot of people here can be hostile. You know, parents will want to beat them up, like no exaggeration. Like they'll meet you out in the parking lot when you get off work, kind of deal. You know, I mean, you don't have to worry about like a man coming and hitting a female teacher, but if it's another male teacher, he's probably going to get punched in the face, like no exaggeration. So it's like a completely different culture on that. You know?
Totally, completely. And that is one of the things, actually, David, that shocked me. Okay, thank you for bringing that up. They didn't accommodate me. Okay, so like when I was in Australia, if there were any foreigners, they would be accommodated. Like there would be special English classes for them. Okay, for them to be able to get used to the language and help them with different subjects, etc. Okay, that's what I expected when I got here. But nothing at all. Why? Because I think that schools here in Indonesia are not used to receiving foreigners, you know. It's just something that happens in like 1 in a million, you know. It doesn't happen often. So I don't think they're equipped. I don't think they're ready for that kind of thing. But I was shocked, and I honestly thought they would accommodate me, at least help me to learn Indonesian. They didn't. I had to find my own teacher. I thought that at least they would excuse me for not being able to speak the language. They didn't. They pretty much abused me in front of the other kids, which was it was awful. Like, can you imagine? Okay, like this happened to me on my first day at school in Indonesia. It just happened to be the Javanese class. Okay, Javanese is like a total different language. Okay.
Mm.
And my teacher knew I was new, knew I couldn't speak Indonesian. And you know what he did on my first day? He asked me to go to the front of the class and sing a Javanese song. That is what he did to me.
It's like
And
he's setting you up for failure.
yeah, yep, exactly.
Wow.
But luckily, David, I'm not that bad at singing. Okay, so he was impressed. Okay, but I went home crying after that because I felt I was abused by the teacher. Okay, I felt I was being made fun of. I felt like I was like a clown in front of the teacher, like being used as some sort of a, I don't know, trial type of thing. I don't know really what he was doing, but it was absolutely awful. I can only say that.
Yeah. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
No, it's okay. It's only making me stronger, really, David. I'm much stronger than I would have been without going through all of that, and that's why I can pretty much take anything. You insult me like anything, I'm like, yeah, whatever. That's just me now. So yeah, it's stronger. So yeah, but thank you, David, for bringing that up. I forgot to mention that, so thanks. And let me see. Okay. Are there any different English languages in, like maybe the UK, the many different language? Okay. In Australia, honestly, there are three main different accents. Okay, there are three main different accents, like the really broad Australian accent, like I explained earlier, like Steve Irwin. Good day, mate. How's it going? Where you going today? Okay, that would be like the really broad Australian accent. And then there's the general Australian accent, which is a little more like mine, but mine is actually a little more cultivated. I was watching a video and I was like, hey, mine's a little more cultivated. Okay, so we have three. Okay, we have a broad accent, we have a general accent, and a more cultivated or a more like posh is what they would say in the UK, a little more posh. So there are three main accents. And then Imam, oh yeah, I know it's a huge problem. Nervous about speaking. I know, but like if just know that if, for example, if you ever go to Australia, America, or the UK, they won't make fun of you. They shouldn't do at least. Because they know that you're coming from another country. So it's different. Like I came here, they made fun of me. They made fun of me nonstop. Okay, nonstop. But when like people from a lot of other countries go to Australia, they don't get made fun of. It's just, I mean, yeah, okay, maybe they do sometimes, like if the person or the people are idiots, but other than that, no, they won't. Okay, so you feel quite confident actually. And then, okay, how to memorize a lot of vocabulary easy. Actually, I don't really. I don't know. What do you think, David? Do you recommend trying to memorize vocabulary? Because I don't.
To a small extent, yes, but I wouldn't put it up on the top of the list of importance.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's my opinion too. So to this one, vocabulary, yeah. I mean, of course you need some vocabulary to be able to communicate, but to memorize vocabulary, no. Like just listen to more things like on YouTube, listen to podcasts, communicate with native speakers. I mean, like I said, I'm an open book. Contact me. Although I'm very busy, it may take me a while to answer, but I will try. Okay, so maybe that can help. And Imam, yeah, do you have a question?
Okay, thank you for having me. And am I audible? And I want to ask you, which one is, I mean, the most difficult thing that you encountered when you were in Indonesia? I mean, like maybe the food or the language barrier, or I mean, the most difficult thing
The most difficult thing. Very good question. Thank you,
to
Imam.
adapt in this culture, to
Okay,
adapt
okay.
to the environment.
Mm-hmm,
And then I want
okay.
to ask you, like,
Yep.
as you said that you don't like to be called bullied, right?
Yep, correct.
And okay, I want to ask David, do you think that do you also, I mean, you don't like to be called like gringo by like Latin American countries like Mexico or something? Yeah, because
No,
they
I
speak
mean
like, yeah.
that's considered racist. I mean, you're
Mm,
basically you are identifying a person not by their name or by their actions or deeds. You're instead identifying a person by the color of their skin and their ethnicity. Which really isn't right. Like I wouldn't go around, to another country and just address people based on their ethnicity or their skin color. It's just it goes beyond rude, in my opinion.
yeah, because I think, I mean, in my mind, that gringo is like in Indonesia, it's like bully or something like that.
Yeah, it
From
is.
Spanish speaker.
Gringo basically means white person, and
Yeah.
not to give you a history lesson, but it goes back to the Mexican American War when America occupied Mexico. We had troops down there, and our troops wore an all olive green colored uniform. So they didn't know much English. So they were trying to say the word green go, telling us to leave. And so, that term stuck over decades and decades to just mean a white person.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same with me, really, Imam. The same what how David explained it. Everybody calling me bule. I felt like I was being called, "Hey, white person! Hey, white person!" And it's not nice. It's honestly, it's really racist, and I find it very racist. It's like a racist slur or calling people that. You may mean good. It may, in your opinion, it may be like a compliment, but to me, it's not, because I don't
To
like
us, it's like a
being.
slap in the face.
Yeah, exactly, David, exactly. And that's how I take it. I feel like, please, I have a name, call me by it. Don't call me by the color of my skin or my ethnicity. Okay. And then what is one of the what was the hardest thing for me to overcome when I moved here? What was really hard for me? Okay, the language barrier, number one. Okay. But also I guess, how people reacted to me, and also the difference in like people asking me I guess no, making fun of me, really. Okay, that was one of the hardest things. I can't make food. I could still, for example, go and buy McDonald's, or I could go and buy something. I could get around that. But people making fun of me, it was one of the worst things I've ever experienced, honestly. um uh, I don't know why. I think because, again, people are not used to foreigners starting at school, that kind of thing. It's not taught either at school to not be racist, which is amazing to me that it's not taught. Okay. But it's not. So people made fun of me. The teachers made fun of me. People made fun of the way I spoke. People made fun of things that I said. People made fun of that I couldn't speak in Indonesian, that I couldn't write in Indonesian, that yeah, different things. Okay, different things. And that was the worst thing for me. Can you imagine being a teenager, a child, really? Okay, and then being made fun of every single day, especially by your teachers? I mean, how does that affect a child's mental state? It affected me really badly. And I realized later on that that's what happened to me. I lost my self-confidence because of how I was treated. And yeah, I know it's a bad fact, but it's a cold fact. And like, you have to understand that you have to be able to, you have to respect other people. Okay, you respect others. Treat people like you want to be treated. I mean, would you want to be treated like that? I don't think so. So that's the hardest thing for me. What was the hardest thing for me, Imam? Actually, harder than the language barrier, actually. Just being made fun of all the time, Imam. That's what was really hard for me. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Imam. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you well, and thank you.
Okay. Yep, you're welcome.
I think it's like bullying, right? I mean, do you think that it's like you categorize it's bullying.
Yeah, I do really. I mean, David might say that bullying is like more physical,
Yeah.
but
I mean, I would call it harassment more than bullying.
ah,
Because I mean, yeah, from a perspective over here, bullying usually involves like more physical violence. But bullying, I mean, what we call cyberbullying is like basically threats and insults online. I
yeah.
mean, it can apply that way.
Yeah, I honestly, yeah, harassment. I felt like, yeah, I was pretty much the center of bullying, really. I mean, it's not nice. Anything that makes someone feel really uncomfortable and really upset and feel like they're worthless is bullying, in my opinion, really. So I hope that answers your
And,
question. Yep.
and by the way, it is actually how the way Indonesians make a joke. I mean, it's not just only because you are the one that is different, but if Indonesian, for example, like somebody from Java Island, and then they come to Sumatra, they will be like you. I mean, the center of bullying. I mean, people will laugh at the way they speak Javanese. People will mock them. Maybe I mean, just that's the culture of Indonesian. That it is maybe hard for you, but I just for you to know that you're already in Indonesia and you must understand that that is the culture of Indonesia. I mean, I also
But
was
but I mean,
center of. Mhm.
sorry, I mean to cut you off, but I mean, but again, I mean, to say it's the culture, I mean, wouldn't you take a step back and think, is this how I would want to be treated if I was in a different place?
Yeah, of course. When I visit different, when I'm in a different place, of course I want to be treated as I am. I mean, but in Indonesia, that's the way Indonesian doing the stuff. I mean, doing the joke. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
to know, they just want to know you more. That's the way they want to know you more. They are actually not mocking you. They just want to know you more. But
But
it
I
feels
get
like,
it. I
yeah,
get it, Matt. But you have to realize that not all cultures will be accepted well by other people, and not all cultures are good. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. That's one thing I have to explain to you. In my opinion, not all cultures. I know that it's the culture. It's even the culture to body shame. I even realize that. It's not good though. Okay. For example, okay, I'm gonna use Indonesian here. I'll explain it to you in a minute, David. Kok gendutan sih? Oh, you look fatter now. I know this is the culture here, but it's not a good culture. Okay. And it's starting to change. It is starting to change. Like people are becoming more aware about body shaming and that kind of thing. But so, like, you can't just say, but it's the culture, deal with it. You can't, because you're hurting people at the same time, you know? Yeah.
And one thing I'd like to add also is, like you even said, that some parts of culture are bad. This is me speaking about my own country's culture. Like, one thing of criticism that I can say about American culture is it is extremely arrogant and American centric. Like, to the point where I'm not saying all Americans, obviously, but a lot of Americans basically feel that they're superior, that they're the best, and that everything outside of our borders is lesser, which is
California.
obviously wrong. You know, like, obviously that is a wrong way of thinking, but it is sadly part of the culture. And, you know, the thing is the only thing I can hope for is one day that too will change.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
It's also like a culture in Australia, for example, okay, that I don't think is that good. Okay. God, do they love their beer, Matt? They are every occasion, drunk here, drunk there, drinking alcohol everywhere you go. Beer, 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 beer. They cannot have fun without alcohol. They cannot have fun without beer. I know this is a
Wow.
very Western culture. It's really like everywhere you have an esky full of beer everywhere you go. Okay. And for me, I don't like that culture. Okay. I don't think it's a good culture. I think you should be able to have fun without alcohol. That's just my opinion. Maybe others won't agree. That's just my opinion. Maybe David won't agree with me even. But it's just my opinion.
Well, no, I was going to say, like, I was thinking too, I know you're going to laugh at this, but there's a, the brand Foster's beer, which is Australian.
Yes, I do
They have
totally.
the commercials over here because it is sold here, and they always have that real
Ah,
broad Australian accent. It's like Foster's Australian for beer. It's just like, so. I mean, it's known here too, and there are parts of the U.S. that are very much like that. Like they are very much focused on alcohol. Texas is one of those places. Like they are really centric on beer and whiskey. Pretty much every function, people get drunk, and it's just how it is. And me, I'm not really a heavy drinker. Like I'll admit, in my early 20s, I used to drink quite a bit, but then I grew out of it. I didn't like being hungover the next day. I didn't like, just dealing with that. But again, over there, it's really part of the culture. You're not going to avoid it.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so like you can see, Matt, that even in our cultures, like in Australia, in America, we have, okay, it's our culture, but I'm not going to say that it's good. In my opinion, it should change. Like how David said that Americans, my God, are they arrogant? I can vouch for that one, because so many, not all, but a lot that have come here to Indonesia that I met, my goodness, Matt, they are so arrogant. And that is one culture that I think has to change. It's like in Indonesia, body shaming, and then making fun of other people. When you said it's just fun and friendly, how is making fun of other people fun and friendly? I think that this culture needs to change. You can be friendly to other people in a different way where you don't have to make fun of people. Why do you have to make fun of people?
Okay, one quote that I just remember, that you don't need to change the world, but you need to change yourself so you have a better world. Yeah, that's what one quote that I remember
And
actually.
that's an excellent quote.
That is so true, Matt. I completely agree with you. Like if we don't agree with something, like for me, myself, okay, so I start with myself. I teach my kids, okay, don't make fun of other people. Yeah, I know it's maybe the culture here, but don't do it, okay, because I don't agree with it, so you don't do it. You can be the beginning of change. That's how I look at it, Matt.
It's just like with my kids. I'm going to be focusing on them learning about the outside world, being interested in other cultures and learning about them. And that pretty much is the opposite of a lot of the people here. But again, even though it is going against the culture here, it's the right thing to do. At least that's how I feel.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully that makes sense to you, Matt. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that really makes sense to me.
Okay, cool.
Uh,
Okay. I don't know. Ririn, will we? I think it's. Wow, it's like an hour and 40 minutes. So. Ririn, I will answer one more question, and then I think that's probably enough. Is that okay, Ririn?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. Just one more question from Mia. What do we do then to reduce the culture shock faced by foreigners? Honestly, you can't really help people reduce their culture shock. It's difficult, okay? Because people receive things differently, okay? Like they go to a different culture, and some may thrive, as I said, some may get huge culture shock, some may get really stressed. So, but one thing that I think that needs to change is that, for example, if you see someone different, if you see someone who doesn't understand the language, if you see someone who needs help, help them. Don't be so awful to make fun of them and then make them feel even worse. And I don't know, make them feel really like really an outsider, really. Okay, so that's all I can say is, if you ever see anyone who needs help, don't just look at them and make fun of them and just leave them be. Go up to them, help them if you can, anything, because I can tell you, I wish someone had done that to me. They didn't, so I had to face this all by myself. Okay, I wish someone had helped me, but they didn't. So if you do ever see anyone who needs help, help them. That's all I can say, really, my advice. Okay. Yeah, okay. So I think probably that's it for this evening. Wonderful, wonderful. I didn't expect it to go this long. Wow. Really, honestly, thank you everyone. I cannot mention you one by one, but all of you, thank you so much. And I will hand it over to Ririn.
Yeah, that's a really wonderful explanation, Rebecca. And thank you so much for everyone here for your enthusiasm during the session.
You're welcome,
And actually,
Ririn.
I
Welcome.
learned a lot of by during this session because I actually never met someone from UK and from USA and also from Australia. So yeah, I didn't really know about the culture. So thank you so much.
Ah,
That's a
you're
wonderful
welcome.
discussion.
And thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Ririn. I hope helped
And
everybody here. Like once again, I am not like dissing on
Yeah.
any country, okay, or any culture. No, I'm just saying that what things that I experienced and some things that I think need to change. And now I am living here. I'm thriving in Indonesia. I love it here. I love the people. I love the culture. I love the food, everything. So,
Told you in Indonesia, you live in Australia. I told you. So living in Australia. She's not Indonesian.
sorry.
I speak up, bro.
She lives in Indonesia. She's just originally from Australia.
Hello,
Okay.
who said that? Okay, well,
Oh.
hello. Okay, well, anyway. Okay, well, I think that's it for this evening, right? Ririn, has she disappeared? Where is she? There's so many people.
excuse me, a few seconds, please.
Oh, yeah, Linda, please.
Okay, so the last but not least, actually, I wanted to say this for the first time you gave me a chance to talk, but it was just completely slipped my mind. So I just would like to say, yeah, I'm so sorry to know that you have been through a rough time, culture shock, bad experiences in Indonesia. So I know that you have been through. I mean, you have been trying to do your best to put up with all of those things. So hopefully, yeah, you you have been here for a long time, 10 years. So wow, that was wonderful. So one thing
Yeah.
that you give another bright color to Indonesian, especially Indonesian, I mean English learners in Indonesia. So I just would like to say hi to David. So you look amazing, dope, stunning tonight, David.
Thank
So
you.
when it comes to English, so I got a lot of questions to you, but unfortunately we are running out of time. So maybe in the next time, hopefully you
We're
can
on the group.
be. Yeah, right, inshallah. So how do I say? How do I say in English narasumber, Kakak Becky? Narasumber, source person.
Probably just a speaker.
Speaker.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully, in the next session, David can be a speaker. Yes,
Oh,
thank you so
Yes,
much. Thank you
David.
so much. So
Alright.
for the lesson tonight, so I'm so grateful to have you guys.
You're
Yeah, for that.
welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Linda. You're so sweet. So thank you so much. Okay, then Ririn. Okay, I think that's it.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. And
Okay,
happy to
thank
see
you.
you next time. Yeah, bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Hmm.